Destiny 2 is often criticised when it gets things wrong, and rightly so, but I stand by the fact that raiding in Destiny 2 is genuinely one of the most fulfilling and exciting activities in video games. Period. The sense of discovering, and then learning, and then finally executing. When you get the boss down to a slither of the health and you just can't quite get it over the line, but a couple of tries later and the ecstasy of getting the job done. Destiny 2's raids encourage a sense of team play, coordination, but they still allow for individual skill. I truly believe that everyone who's ever touched Destiny should experience a Destiny 2 raid. So when Bungie announced Pantheon, a raid boss gauntlet, I thought, okay, this is interesting. Would the encounters be reworked or changed? Would it just be pure DPS? And sure, the encounters would give a little sprinkling of a change, but they're still the same old encounters. Pantheon has actually taken Destiny 2 by storm. It's definitely targeted for more experienced players, especially for the plus 15 and plus 20 variants of the mode, but I think Pantheon has had an even greater impact than Bungie probably intended. Like I say, raids and their encounters are fantastic, giving people specific roles that you learn by doing runs and then getting into the weeds of that role, whether that be gathering symbols to then shoot an obelisk's buttons of those symbols, whether it be working back and forth with a partner to capture the gaze of a boss so that your teammates can lay down the fire on the boss. These are just some of the encounters that you'd get in a raid, but I think Pantheon is even better than it promised to be. Not to mention, this is completely free to all. I've got over 1,000 hours in Destiny, but my time raiding is pretty small because the core group of players that I play with, we often struggle to coordinate times for us to be able to raid together. My first LFG experience in Destiny was almost one to make me quit playing the game altogether back when Garden first launched. But Pantheon allows something different. In fact, it's allowed a breadth of things. Most of all, it's made me an extremely competent raider, but it's also improved my ability to play the game. The encounters chosen by Bungie, I think, are really smart because they give a little bit of everything, a variety of roles and mechanics that, as you do more and more runs, you just get better and better. But the variation in encounters really teaches you and it improves you. Golgoroth, for example, is a boss about doing damage over time. If you execute correctly, you get 6 opportunities to deal damage in that first phase of damage. On the flip side, Atrax is all about doing quick damage because he disappears. So, whilst you might use a damage over time weapon for Golgoroth like a grenade launcher, that same strategy may not work as well for Atrax. The same applies to mechanics. Caretaker is about having 2 runners, running in, gathering the symbols, remembering them and then shooting them at the obelisk to activate it. Oryx, on the other hand, is assigning people to podiums and having freelancers run up and down, and you need crystal clear comms as you work together to get to where you need to get to. The encounters picked by Bungie offer up a lot of what make the best encounters in raids. I 100% understand that raiding is a very, very intimidating task. Like I say, my first LFG raid experience was nearly toxic enough for me to never play Destiny again. LFG is very hit and miss, that's for sure. At the same time, the onus is on the individual. If you've never raided, don't join a fire team that is asking for experience. Seek out a fire team finder that says newbies welcome, or in the Discord LFG, look for someone that's acting as a guide. Having been on both sides of the coin, where I'm experienced and then being frustrated that people don't know what they're doing and they're joining where I'm asking for experience, or the flip side where I've been inexperienced and people are losing it with me. I get it. There's tons of terrific guides out there, particularly Datto and Fallout plays as my go-to for learning these encounters. It's not just the activity of doing the encounters either, it's how Pantheon rewards you that's just so great. Before Pantheon, I'd ranked King's Fall in its entirety twice. I got pretty lucky with one red border for Zawuli's Bane and a normal Zawuli's Bane in those runs. Because of Pantheon, I can now become so experienced in that Golgoroth encounter that I found a fire team where I could just farm the King's Fall loot over and over, and now I've got myself a crafted Zawuli's Bane, which absolutely shreds, by the way, as a legendary solar hand cannon. Replaces Sunshot for when I need an exotic elsewhere, it's so good. Not to mention, a full run of Atrax Sovereign, which is the +5 power level of this encounter, or the +10 Oryx Exalted, will let you obtain an Eyes of Tomorrow or a Touch of Malice. Really rewarding, because let me tell you, Touch of Malice is a scout rifle that I've always wanted. But like I say, I can't really run the raid 1,000,001 times because I don't have a dependable fire team to run it over and over, and LFG is a little hit or miss. The ability to get adept loot, raid loot from these encounters is terrific. Like I say, I think it's really underestimated how intimidating the concept of raiding in Destiny can be. It's so hit or miss in terms of the fire team you LFG with, but all I will ever say is be transparent. Most people just get frustrated if you're not experienced and you join a lobby where they ask for experience. You will find a lot more people than you'd believe that are willing to teach you if you're honest about your knowledge of an encounter. I've seen people with the sentiment that not everyone should be able to run Pantheon. And that's a load of bollocks, mate, because I don't want people to gatekeep what I think are some of the best stuff in Destiny 2 period in a much more approachable format than just a normal raid, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the emphasis is on the player to be truthful about their ability and their knowledge. And if you are just looking for a carry, you're going to have to find the groups that are willing to do so, really. I'm absolutely loving Pantheon though. I hope it stays, or if it does go, it's brought back and it's evolved on. Not just because I'm delighted that I've got my Touch of Malice now, or that I've got my crafted Zawuli's Bane, but because it's made me a better Destiny player, a more competent raider. I'm paying a lot more attention now to surges like Solar or Stasis, or understanding that popping my ability before damage is essential to getting a Platinum run. Platinum runs too. What a fun way of challenging you to really think about what damage and strategy you're opting for to complete the encounter within the time. It's just been a really terrific mode that I didn't really get excited about when it was announced, but it's had a much more positive impact on me than Onslaught has. Understanding when it's worth going for linear fusion rifles, or when it's a galley and rocket situation, maximising my super damage. Not to mention, for as much as I've been like, okay, LFG can be hit or miss, I've met and spoke to some really sound and nice players along the way that, sure, Destiny community, it can get a bad rap, but I'm not going to sit here and say there's a bad eggs out there, because I've also played with fire teams that are just so chill or extremely thankful if you have the patience to help them out. Sure, it can bring out the worst in people, but it can also bring out the best. If you are a casual player with minimal raid experience, seek a Datto or Fallout Player's Guide on these encounters. Use the Fireteam Finder or the Destiny 2 Discord LFG. Look for people who are willing to teach or guide on the first run. It's going to seem extremely daunting, but I do think that a +5 run is what a lot of people will be capable of doing, providing that they're willing to learn and they're willing to get better. I do think it'll provide immense fulfillment and joy, and let you see a side to Destiny that you wouldn't otherwise see. There's checkpoints for these encounters too, so even if you can't do the entire run in one go, you'll be able to come back and do it before the weekly reset. On the flip side too, for the hardcore, the +15 and +20 challenges are terrific additions that those communities have been asking for a long time, and I'm excited to see their strategies for completing them encounters in the Platinum time. Overall, Pantheon has had a tremendous impact on Destiny 2. It should stay in my opinion, or at the very least be confirmed to return at some point. A seasonal refresh of the encounters could be really cool as well. I'd like to encourage all sorts of players to play it, but at the right level and with the right people. It allows you to experience, in my opinion, some of the greatest and most rewarding activities in video games period, like I said, in both the actual rewards that you get, but the feeling of accomplishment and cooperation that you did along the way. That's just my thoughts on Pantheon though. Let me know, have you tried Pantheon in Destiny 2? And what are your thoughts on it? Would you like it to stay after the final shape, or do you want it to go away, make some improvements here or there, refresh some of the encounters? What improvements would you make if you are making improvements? If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for more Destiny 2 content as we approach the final shape, I've got a guide in the works as to how the casual player should prep for the final shape, so please do consider subscribing, I'd appreciate it. Dropping a like on the video always helps me out, so I'd appreciate that too. All of the socials are linked in the description down below if you want to get at me down there. Otherwise, have a terrific day, and I'll catch you in the next one.